Fair use. Fair use.
Let me tell you something. I was today's years old when I found out that the P in P. Diddy stands for P. Diddy. Cause yesterday in the Diddy Rico trial, we all found out that Diddy made his male escorts use the bathroom in Cassie Ventura's mouth. Now I can imagine them goddamn tapes that got Young Miami and Saucy Santana on them. Yesterday, court testimonial was so bad that Diddy twin daughters stormed out the courtroom, left in the middle of it all. They ain't want to hear no more. Well, today in court, Cassie broke her silence. In her shocking testimony, she took the stand and laid it all.
Now, he talking about day 2. They on day 3 now. It's May 5th, 14th, Wednesday. Talking about Tuesday. I'm reviewing things about Tuesday. It's going to go into today. I'm going to have a lot of stuff about it yesterday going up into today. Just ride out with me.
Bam! She told them prosecutors about the years of Diddy whooping on her. She told them people about the manipulation tactics he used and the fear that she had for his inner demon. She spoke about how he forced her into the wild, dope-fueled baby oil parties as he stood back in the hallway behind a glass window with the baby oil himself. The entire courtroom fell silent when a surveillance video from 2016 was played showing Diddy whooping on her in that hotel hallway. A witness that was hired by Diddy spoke out confirming Cassie's story. Now one of them baby oil escorts that Diddy hired got on that stand saying Diddy paid him to perform with the baby oil on goddamn Cassie while he watched. Another witness got up there and claimed Diddy tried to bribe him to cover up the assault in the hotel hallway when he was whooping on her in the goddamn video, offering him hush money, but he refused the money, but then sold the goddamn footage to TMZ and got a bigger check. Diddy is now facing life in prison if he convicted. Diddy saying all this was consensual. Everybody signed NDAs. Everybody signed the consent to perform the bedroom baby oil activities. But after today, the jury looked shocked and shook. They looked scared. And then Cassie husband walked in that courtroom and gave Diddy the death stare. Now y'all gotta remember that Diddy daddy, his biological father, was a kingpin of the dope out there in New York City. Well, guess what? Diddy look like he followed his footsteps, but this time he the baby oil Rico kingpin. And y'all gotta remember this: these jurors ain't ghetto. They ain't from the hood with that kind of understanding like, man, you know what, they considered they grown. These are people that got regular jobs. They probably mothers and fathers, or they could have been victims of similar crime that's being alleged in these goddamn court accusations, or got family members that are victims to similar accusations of the goddamn Diddler. Cause this starting to look like grooming. And that's just how they pent R. Kelly to them 30 years that he's serving right now in the federal penitentiary. Ain't gonna get out till he about 80 years old. Now, Cassie got on that stand today and admitted that she willingly participated in them baby oil PP activities. She did say that, but she said she did it all out of fear of what would happen if she told Diddy, the Diddler, the baby oil bandit, no. Now the walls are closing in, and this trial just turned explosive, and we only getting started. This only been day 2. This trial is expected to last 8 weeks. Can you imagine what we about to hear and the tape we about to see, and how many people finna be secretly indicted on this? Why you think TDJ stepped down? It's finna get ugly ugly. But y'all stay tuned. Y'all comment below. Do y'all think Diddy guilty or innocent? Do y'all think this is consensual or was this forced? Look in the Diddy character. Look at his demeanor. Do you think he was forcing them to do that, or was they willingly having fun and inspired by the kind of money? But keep in mind, the root of all
and
evil
they make them do
is
strange
people that's
things,
dead
man.
broke. When you broke and ain't got no money, you will do whatever money tell you to do.
Right.
That's why God say you can't serve money and God. Look like they were serving the money because he was paying them, paying Cassie bills, and she just there busting it open. But y'all comment below. Let me know how y'all feel about the situation. Y'all watch out for them fake pages that be in the goddamn comment talking about you won some money. That's not Nino Brown. It's only one Nino Brown. I don't see no clown.
Our witness Cassie Ventura taking the stand today in a New York courtroom in the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. This trial's marked the first time Ventura and Combs are seeing one another in person since their 2018 split. Federal prosecutors claim Combs used lies, drugs, threats, and violence to coerce his ex-girlfriend into sexual encounters with male prostitutes. Ventura said the alleged sexual encounters typically lasted between 36 to 72 hours, the longest one lasting 4 days. Ventura is currently married and pregnant with her third child. She told the jury today about how the hip-hop mogul controlled her life and their relationship, describing the alleged physical abuse, saying, quote, "He would bash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down." Combs has pleaded not guilty to all 5 charges he's facing, including racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. A warning for our viewers, this story may contain accounts, descriptions, visual content of actual or alleged events that some viewers may find disturbing. So for more now, let's bring in ABC's Rena Roy live from outside the courtroom, along with ABC News legal contributor and trial attorney Brian Buckmeyer. Rena, we will begin with you. Cassie Ventura, of course, on the stand most of the day. She's talking in graphic detail at times about her participation in these freak-offs. So what did we learn so far today?
Yeah, Trevor, very graphic indeed. I can tell you that I got a chance to listen to her testimony inside court here behind us, and she was emotional. She broke down into tears at one point when she talked about participating in those freak-offs. She says that she was just 22 years old, had just turned 22 when Combs first proposed to her those drug-fueled sex marathons with escorts. She says eventually, though, they became almost weekly, and that they lasted on average, as you said, about 2 to 3 days, the longest one 4 days, and that she stayed awake by drugs that she says Combs gave to her, including ecstasy, cocaine, and Molly. She testified that those freak-offs made her feel dirty and worthless, but that she felt like she did not have a choice but to participate because she says Combs would become violent with her. As you pointed out, she says that he would bash her in the head, kick and drag her, and that she didn't know what would happen if she didn't do what he wanted her to do. She told the jury that she tried to express her feelings about participating, but in at least one text message shown to the jury, Combs told her to make it happen anyway. Trevor?
I'm still failing to see where he actually broke the law outside of getting drugs. You can make a case for the assault, but I'm making a case for a toxic relationship between them both. I see her as a participant, not necessarily as like she's the Bonnie that got out before he got arrested. Otherwise, she would be considered as a co-conspirator. Like, I'm not listening to her and seeing a woman and saying, "Oh my God, woe is me." I'm looking at a woman that tried to negotiate privately for a settlement in a civil suit and was not looking for any criminal charges whatsoever. I am seeing a woman that was trying to get paid because she now off with the dancer and she's now off with the guy, the trainer, whatever it is that you want to call it, and making babies and making sure that they find themselves in a good position, not necessarily as a person that is looked at as a victim. She was the Bonnie to his Clyde, and she was a participant. And so now we want to frame this as a victim. As much as I dislike Diddy, Diddy has a sex demon.
Yeah.
He has a kink demon. He is a nasty person, the baby oil, the sex fueled parties and all of that. Yep. That's exactly what it was. And we can call it what it is. And you shouldn't be hanging around him. And I question The sexuality of all of the men that was spending an extraordinary amount of time around him, championing him, and all of that. Even their moral compass. We know that these people was willing to sell their souls in order to get a bag, get famous, and be around rich people. But if you're trying to tell me that he's running a criminal enterprise to where he's trafficking people and then at the same time forcing them against their will to do things that they otherwise would not have done, and she's the person that's making the phone call. She was the person that was benefiting from it. She was the person that was getting her family taken care of. She was the person that had multiple homes in multiple states but never dropping an album. She was the person that left Ryan Leslie in order to be with him. And then you want to make an argument against her age, but then y'all validated when somebody over here killing somebody at 17 and 18 years old and saying that they should be charged as an adult. I don't see her as an innocent person. I see her as a person that got out just in time before the raid van came and shut everything down. She is at the forefront of all of these women with all of these accusations. And even though we've seen the picture or we've seen the hotel footage of what happened in the hallway, I'm wondering how much she was doing behind the scenes that we didn't see because we only seen a small clip of what it is that we think was happening in their relationship. And I'm sorry to be the person and the bearer of bad news. Now, I'm not defending Diddy, but I don't think that based off of the court of public opinion that this guy and what is being said and described in these testimonies, that this dude need to go to jail for life. I just don't see it, and I don't see her as innocent. I'm sorry. I apologize for saying what I really believe instead of saying what is politically correct.
Brian, given how emotional and explicit all this testimony is, what kind of strategy do you think we might see from the defense attorneys in cross-examination?
So I think the defense is going to try to move away from the emotion and some of the more explicit terminology that we're seeing in this case and try to go for a much more logical argument that they're making, that Sean Combs participated in domestic violence, allegations that would rightfully so be attributed to state charges, but that there was no racketeering conspiracy. There was no sex trafficking. It was domestic violence for domestic violence sake, based on jealousy, infidelity, and just anger. And so I think that's the angle they're going to take. But some of the testimony, as Rena pointed out, and just how Cassie is on the stand, that's going to be a very hard argument to distinguish between the different types of force and how they were used.
So, Rena, Diddy is there in court. He's watching all this testimony from his ex-girlfriend. There's also many of his own family members there. Did we see any kind of reaction from Diddy today?
Right. For the most part, he appears to be pretty focused on Cassie Ventura, his ex-girlfriend. He is listening intently. At one point, we saw him scribble down some notes and speak to his attorney. But other times, he appears to be more passive with his hands in his lap at the defense table with not really a certain kind of expression on his face. She, on the other hand, has not appeared to look at him once since she took the stand. She has looked at her husband, who is inside court to support her. Remember, this is the first time that Combs and Ventura are seeing each other face to face since 2018. So you can imagine how this might feel for both of them.
Brian, how do you...
Cassie is the woman that won. She's the woman that won. She was the bank. She was the woman that participated in the bank robbery, but then threw her gun down and changed her life and gave it over to God before the police came. And now she's a star witness for the police against the guy. And she was possibly one of the co-conspirators again in the mastermind that went along with him to rob the bank. That's how I look at Cassie. I know other women is going to see her as a victim with her $30 million plus payout. I know people are going to see her as the person that was coerced and all of that stuff. And I was wrong. And, you know, I'm willing to bring myself to the front of the congregation and say that I was wrong about Diddy as far as whether or not he had kicked their butt and all of this stuff. I was absolutely wrong about that. But I don't believe that I'm wrong about her participating and then now them trying to get somebody to go down for what has been a standard in the normalization within the music industry, within Hollywood, and within the culture for a long time. I don't see it. I'm not going for it. There's no way you can convince me of it. I see it a little bit differently.
Imagine this might land with the jury hearing all of this extensive testimony of this nature.
So I think at this point with direct examination, without anyone coming up and crossing Cassie, I think the jury is looking at Sean Combs, and I was in court this morning to see some of those looks with disgust, with disdain, to think about how one individual can do this to another in this way. And so I think it's going to be a high hill or even a mountain for the defense to kind of walk this case to the jury to suggest that, yes, Sean Combs, as Tenny Garrigo said in opening statements, has done some indefensible things, but it's a matter of what he's being charged with and what he did. A very difficult distinction, because I think earlier on in her testimony, it seemed much more about domestic violence. Now we're starting to see the allegations and some of the facts that bleed into that sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion, and that enterprise, that criminal enterprise that the government alleged is surrounding Sean Combs' inner circle. Because when she looked at some of those photos of the security guards, the chief of staff, at least for me, as I sat in that courtroom, I could hear the tone of her voice change. I can see her body language change, and you can see that she had some very particular feelings of maybe even fear in describing some of these individuals. And I think that's really proven the case for the government.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, y'all let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon link.
Boom. All right, we back. Now we're going to hop on my boy Academics. He breaking it down for real, for real.
All right, back to back like Lethal Weapon. All right, come on, let's get it. Yo, chat, what's cracking? What's cracking? I didn't even do no intro today. We're going to get right into it. Cassandra Ventura has taken a stand. This is day 2 officially of the trial being started. We anticipate that she's probably going to be up on the stand for a little bit, for more than one day. But they did finish. My bad. They finished up with
like
our
I
Flores.
said, this is yesterday. We still
reviewing
day
sex
2.
worker Philippe.
I'm gonna be jumping around to different content creators.
And Cassie has officially taken a stand. It's the first time she's actually appeared. And we're gonna get right into it, people. This is Cassie on the stand. So actually, let's pull up, and we'll get the details about. Okay, so this is gonna be day 2. We'll get the details that what Philip said, and we're gonna roll right into the Cassie testimony. She's gonna testify until lunch, so she has about an hour. She's on the stand right now. She's gonna testify at least until lunch. Check this out, though. Okay. All right, bet. So this is this morning, so 2 hours ago, right?
So one thing about Academics, he's actually like Seti Nash and a few other people. He's like a real journalist. Like they reading tweets, they reading the paperwork. You know, some of them even pay for it, but right now they got to do it on Twitter, and he's in the courtroom. They're gonna be jumping to different newscasts. You'll see. I'm not gonna show all of it because it's like 2 hours, so we're not gonna show it all.
Judge Submaranium, basically, he's like, yo, we're going to try to get through these issues effectively. So usually at the beginning of these cases, like even if they have witnesses on the stand, they'll try to get through anything that's raised at the end of the day or any motions that are raised that they could get those out of the way that they could carry on the trial. So basically he says we're going to get through these issues efficiently as the jurors are, and as we have the jurors waiting. We have a letter from a juror that will make Court Exhibit 1. On the videos, so a juror wrote a letter. What the fuck? It says on the videos, when will they be offered into evidence? And AUSA Johnson said this afternoon. So something is happening with the witness. By the way, yesterday, just to catch you guys up, very big, important development. And I'm seeing different outlets. And this is why it's so important that we actually, I really wish there was cameras or audio, because the fine details do matter in a trial to this magnitude, where it's all about perception. Did they want it? Did they consent? Did they ask for it? Like, for example, this idea of Cassie getting pee in her mouth. It's supposedly mentioned that Cassie requested that. So Cassie asked the sex worker, hey, have you ever done that? We could look at, different outlets reported it a little bit different. Some people said, did he force her? But then somebody who was there, they said, the person on the stand, the sex worker said, Cassie was the one who asked me to urinate on her. She asked me if I ever done that, and she told me to do it. Apparently I was doing it wrong because they both told me. So it looked like Diddy may have been supervising, but Cassie's the one who solicited the pee. Okay?
You doing it wrong.
Again, that's going to be a source of contention this whole time. Did Diddy force her to get piss in her mouth and pee on her? Or did Cassie want it and Diddy was just supervising or pleasuring himself watching? We'll figure this out. We don't have to think about it too much longer because Cassie's about to hit the stand. So anyway, all right, cool. So they have a letter from the juror. So there's some type of situation going on. Don't know why a juror would be writing a letter, but it's going to be Court Exhibit 1. And they're claiming that on the videos, will they be offered into evidence? Now, this is another thing they're trying to figure out. They're trying to figure out, will they allow the press and also other people who are what they call interested parties that are in the court to see the porn? will they be able to see the free call videos? So the judge is kind of mulling it over. Right now, they're leaning towards, yo, just play them motherfuckers. Whoever is here, let them see. This is a public case, even though it's not recorded, audio or visual, but let these motherfuckers see it. The judge then says, this is about evidence that's coming into the case. The public has a right to know what's happening in the trial. I don't see how we could navigate that concern. There's a potential impact on the jurors of signaling some evidence requiring sealing. Interesting. The AUSA Johnson said we wouldn't just show the videos in the courtroom gallery, and the jurors and everyone else would wear headphones. So all the little moans and everything, I guess they're saying, rather than just like play the porn, they're saying that we'll give the jurors headphones. Said these materials are sexually explicit and involve nudity. So one has submitted a letter. I don't know if we can see the letter. Oh yeah, I think it was submitted in the docket. So yeah, so I'll put it up on the side. Diddy's lawyer says this is adult pornography. That's what it is. So it's narrowly tailored. Our application is only that the visual images and the audio is within the ambit of the sealing order. We could ask questions tastefully. He also then says, what would New York Times or Wall Street Journal do with this? No, they're not the only press. It says sometimes things get unsealed and published, okay? And he actually cites two different things, which is Eric Adams. What is this? Yeah, okay, cool. The judge says on the two incidents with Miss Ventura, so there's at least two videos with her. When we discussed this last week, the defense then chimes in and says the assault in Connecticut, messages between Miss Ventura and Combs, it's relevant. The judge says, let's see if there's any issue. AUSA Johnson says it should be excluded. So they're trying to get something with Cassie not be brought up when Cassie takes a stand. Remember, this is pre-motions because Cassie's touching the stage today. She's actually already on the stand. Tenny Garrigo says he suspected she was cheating on him. So they're saying, hey, if y'all gonna show her getting her ass whipped, we're not defending it, but we want to give some context.
I think it's crazy.
He thought she was
cheating on me.
She ain't answered the phone. She got into a bar fight, tried to kill someone. So it's relevant to his suspicions and her substance abuse outside of their sexual relationship. So they might want to get into what type of drugs she was on and that she probably indulged in during the relationship, even when she wasn't with him, to probably show, hey, y'all could say Diddy drugged her, but this chick was a crackhead regardless. She was taking all type of drugs even when she was with him. Tenny then says she was taking drugs while close with her family in another state. So that goes again to prove my point. I overruled the government's objections, so the judge decided with Diddy. This can be asked about. So they're going to be able to ask about her drug history or conduct, even if it doesn't have to necessarily do with Diddy, just to establish a pattern of how Cassie get down. You could tell Diddy's lawyers are trying to set this up. Cassie's a freak. She's a freak of the week. You feel what I'm saying? She's a freak when she with Diddy, when she ain't with, even when she ain't with him either, right? Cool. So now prior consistent statements. We're talking about a sequencing issue. Are they on direct or in rebuttal? Then AUSA Johnson says in their opening, they said Ms. Ventura made her own choices. Okay? They ask who really had control in this relationship. Begging the answer that it was Ms. Ventura, Exhibit B 3 and 5, the threat to release a sex tape, they said that she only had. So they're saying that Diddy must have threatened her with releasing a sex tape, and she's the only one who had a sex tape, right? Cool. Shapiro, which is, again, I think we talked about her before. She is the appellate, lawyer for Diddy, the appellate specialist. She's still a lawyer, but that's her role on the team. She's saying, we're going to submit that these are hearsay until redirect. The judge says if they come in, they're in. You don't object. Shapiro says we do. What we said in open was that Mr. Combs, and the judge then says, you seem to say she was lying about threats to release videos. So look like the prosecutor said, we got threats from the opposite, from Diddy to Cassie about releasing some sexually explicit videos if she didn't comply, right? According to what Diddy said, or Diddy's team in opening, right? So Mark Agnifilio, they said that there were never no threats, and all the videos that were going to be used in the case, only Cassie had a copy, but clearly the governments are probably going to show that, yo, nigga, we found some shit that you had. You still had videos of Cassie. So definitely. Right? So Shapiro then says the predicate for prior consent statements has not been met. Judge says I find that it has for this exhibit.
Don't forget all that stuff they took out the house. Laptops, computer drives. Yeah.
The defense opening said there will be millions of reasons for people to testify here. That's the attack that was used as to B3162. The judge then says, but the standard has not been reached to B332 and B339. Okay, get Mr. Phillip in the witness box. So they're going to finish up with this witness. That's the sex worker, and bring in the jury. All rise. Everybody's sworn in. Cool. Then we get this guy who we keep seeing his name, Xavier Donaldson. He seems to be the specialist. And what I'm thinking Diddy's case is that they have 9 lawyers. It was supposed to be 8, but it's 9. And I think what they're doing is that they're specializing a few people for a few things. Like, for example, Brian Steele looked like he took the part of whenever that video comes in, the 2016 hallway beatdown, Brian Steele is going to be dissecting whoever testifies to that to make sure they get that out. This Donaldson dude looked like his expertise, no Diddy, is sex workers. So like, all right, you bring up this guy who said he was slanging cock for money, he's gonna ask the question. I think he's done a decent job. I think Brian Steele did a slightly better job, but he probably had an easier job with the worker. Here we go. Okay, cool. So he says, so to continue. So now the sex worker's back on the stand. They're going to continue. By the way, we're going to get to Cassie.
See what I'm saying? Act is cooking. Let him cook. He went hard yesterday. He went for like, I think 9 hours, man. He went hard. No Diddy. No Diddy.
Very shortly. So to continue, you return to Gramercy Hotel. The male dancer, Phillip, says yes. Donaldson then says, so while you and Miss Cassie Ventura were having sex for hours, Miss Ventura took the lead. Phillip said no. Donaldson says, did you take the lead? Phillip says, we were equally doing our thing. There wasn't a leader. So they're kind of describing the sex that supposedly we're probably going to see. Okay. Donaldson says, you decided that together. Phillip says yes. So they're also asking who took the lead, who's deciding, to kind of establish a pattern of, did this seem consensual, right? Donaldson says, fair to say she was in complete control of everything she was doing, right? Phillip says, I can't really say that. Donaldson says, wait, you didn't wear a condom, did you? He says, I did not. Donaldson says, did your boss told you that Cassie paid for the hotel? Phillip says, yes. Donaldson then says she paid with her credit card. Then Phillip says, I have nothing to do with that. She used her card to pay for the dancer. Donaldson then says, okay, that assault at her apartment on 11th Avenue. Phillip says, I believe that was on West End Avenue, which I think that's Cassie's apartment. Donaldson then says, you claim Mr. Combs told her to come over. She said she had personal information on her computer. So wait a minute. And he threw a water bottle at her. So this got a little bit muddied last time in the whole mix chat. The conversation that was being had was that this sex worker claims he couldn't get hard anymore to fuck Cassie, and he had to stop fucking Cassie because he would witness abuse. He said sometimes he would come there to fuck Cassie. He would hear in another room Diddy beating the shit out of Cassie, and he said that turned him off, and he couldn't perform. He said Diddy was, these are details we didn't really get yesterday. So I watched a few other streams while I was off stream to kind of, parse through some information that slipped through the cracks. Also, apparently, Diddy used to press this dude, because he said one time he's fucking Cassie. He claims he's a little bit traumatized by how he's talking to her and the whole situation, but he's fucking her. He can't nut. And he says, he's trying to kind of end it. So he fake nuts. So he's like, I nutted, right? And Diddy's there like, nigga, you sure? Like Diddy's almost trying to confirm. And Diddy looks at Cassie and says to Cassie, yo, you sure he nutted in you? Because Diddy instructions was for him to nut in Cassie. You get what I'm saying? So crazy shit, right? Like beyond crazy. All right. It says, isn't it true Mr. Combs told you, yo, man, I'm going to have to deal with this and you need to get the fuck out. So, okay. And then the person said, that's not correct. I'm wondering, what's this about? Wait, let me go back. You claim Mr. Combs told her to come over. She said she had personal information on the computer. So wait a minute. And he threw a bottle at her? Okay, so there was a time where I guess he threw a bottle at her. Isn't it true Mr. Combs told you, yo, man, I'm going to have to deal with this. You need to get the fuck out. Bill Dare says, that's not correct. Donaldson says, in 2023, didn't you tell the prosecutors, yo man? So I guess they're reading from his, I guess in discovery, the defense got his interrogation or recorded statement with the prosecutor where he detailed what supposedly happened. So now they're trying to use that while he's on the stand to kind of show if he's lying, changing the story, embellishing. You know, you got to try to get these guys' reputation really down low that you could make sure, you know, whatever point you're trying to make that these guys are liars or not remembering the story as how it went, kind of flies with the jury. So you're trying to point out this person pretty much lying or bending the truth. Cool. All right. AUSA objected. It says not in evidence, right? The judge then says sustained. He said you could only use it to try to refresh his recollection. So we've seen this a lot, chat. A lot of times they won't bring in evidence a interrogation video or a recorded statement with law enforcement unless they'll refer to it. But usually we see it in the YSL case. You could only introduce it. And we've seen it in the YNW Melly case. They did that a lot. Remember the lady was on the stand, the mom of the girlfriend, she kept playing dumb. She was like, oh, I don't remember. And that was the only time they could use her statements prior to say, hey, okay, well, we have the transcript here. Could you read what you said? And that's how you kind of get them to admit, because people will catch selective amnesia when they get on the stand, right? Obviously, and by the way, that's the best way. If say somebody's on the stand, they're not trying to perjure themselves. Perjure themselves would be lying. So you know what they do? Oh, I don't recall. I don't recall. Oh, I don't recall. Well, all right, you've said this before, so let's get your recollection up to date. Right. So the judge is saying you can't use the statements as evidence, okay? You can't use it as evidence unless you're trying to refresh their memory, all right? Cool. Dawson says, did you date a model named Malia? The male prostitute says, yeah, Malia. And I didn't say I dated her. We were friends. Dawson says, well, you were with her and you saw Cassie with someone, not Mr. Combs. He says, yes. Well, that's an interesting thing. You were with her and saw Cassie. Oh, okay. Ooh. So supposedly I'm guessing he's on a date with his girl. He runs into Cassie. Cassie's with another man. Okay? So he says, yes, I saw Cassie. She wasn't with Combs. He says, you told Malia you saw Cassie socially. He says, yes. Donaldson then says, you thought Cassie wanted to see you one-on-one, right? Nothing to do with Mr. Combs, right? And then Philip says, I don't see what you mean. Now, I mean, I get what he means. He's saying, did you and Cassandra Ventura develop your own relationship where y'all wanted to fuck outside of the watchful eyes of Diddy? And you know what that's kind of proven, right, chat? That's proven, well, if y'all want to fuck outside of Diddy watching y'all have some other shit going on. Mm-hmm. And also, it shows that Cassie is consensual, and without the either consent or the direction of Diddy, she wants to continue these relationships or do these things, right? Cool. It says, I don't see what you mean. It says, in front of the Dream Hotel, that's what you thought. Dude says, no. Donaldson then says, you only saw her inebriated one time? He says, well, I seen her passed out on the couch. Mr. Combs told me, I don't think it's going to happen today. Donaldson then says that the time with the other male, you rotated. So I guess when we talked about it yesterday, he came in. There was supposedly another guy that may have came in before. There was lube that was used already. Yeah. So they're asking, did you rotate or did y'all switch? He says, no, not correct. Donaldson says, well, did you watch? He says, yes. So he was watching another sex worker have sex with Cassie. Donaldson then says, you thought you were in a relationship with Cassie, didn't you? The sex worker says, no, I didn't. Donaldson then says, you wanted to get alone with her, to date her. Philip then says, well, if she would have let me, I would have. And then Donaldson then says, did you get jealous of Diddy? He says no. Now, this is a really interesting line. What they're kind of doing, and I think Donaldson's starting to do a better job of this. He's trying to paint this sex worker as someone who developed feelings for Cassie. Yeah. Now, why is this relevant? Well, if this is a government's witness, this is a federal government's witness, he's trying to testify to the fact that, or testify to the allegation that Cassie didn't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you come in to slang dick, you start falling in love with her, you want to get him out of the picture. Yeah. You want to get him out of the picture by any means necessary. Yeah. Right? So maybe you fell in love with her. Now, maybe that turns into later on you willing to testify and say a version of the story that makes him look like a monster rather than what they claim it is, which is everybody was consensual and willing participants. Okay, cool. All right. It says, did you not tell them that Mr. Combs would tell you it's my turn? Oh shit, Skip Bayless. Holy shit. It's my turn. Nah, that's my shit.
It's my turn.
Oh nah,
Yeah,
imagine
peace,
Diddy, Diddy in the freak off room like
My
this.
turn.
Yes.
It is. You told me it was my turn. My turn. It is. You told me it was my turn.
You can talk all that you want to, yell and scream. You
Okay,
lost.
it is my
You
turn.
lost the game.
It's my turn.
Yo, no way Diddy up in there.
My turn. It is. You told me it was my turn.
You can talk all that you want to,
Hey,
yell and scream. You
Okay,
lost.
it is my
You
turn.
lost.
Okay. Now, let's go back.
He said,
It said, did you not tell him that Mr. Combs would tell you my turn? All right. Then AUSA says, objection, can we have a sidebar? Donaldson says, I guess they go up real quick. They talk. They back to the desk. Donaldson's continue. So didn't you tell the government that you would feel jealous because you actually liked Cassie romantically? Phillips says, I don't recall that. It says, you don't remember that shit? You know you don't fucked up, right? Yo, put that up on the screen. So they put up, I guess, part of the either his testimony or something like that. Not testimony, but his interview with the feds whenever they interviewed him. And he said, put up 3570, whatever that is. And AUSA says, just for the parties. And Phillips says, I don't recall that. So I think this is a good ending, and they end the cross-examination of Phillip right there. I think this is good for Diddy because guess what just happened? You basically just proved that this guy might be a little bit untrustworthy because he liked Cassie the whole time. Even now, he's not even willing to admit that, you know, he really was fucking with this chick and probably liked her and was down to Snake Diddy. Yeah. So this is gonna be interesting. So AUSA is now coming back on redirect. They gotta clean up what this nigga just dug, right? Pause. So the redirect, AUSA says, yo, please explain why you say Mr. Combs directed you. He said, well, he asked about positions, but Mr. Combs didn't tell us what to do. Use baby oil. Then they say the timing of handing of cash. How much did the amount compare to your stripping services? They say $3,800 more. Then the AUSA says, how much were you paid to perform? When could you, I don't know. And it says $700 to $5,000 or $6,000. It says when you couldn't perform. It says they paid me nothing then. So they're doubling down on this. Hey, this was strictly dick for cash. If I couldn't fuck, I didn't get paid. AUSA says, did Ms. Ventura call you after the Dream Hotel? He says, yes. He says, do you know who she was with? He says, no. He says, did she answer your text messages? He says, never. Well, almost. He says, you said you wanted to hug her. Why? He says, I could see she was afraid. He says, what did you do? He said, I could not engage. I was messed up. He said, what did Mr. Combs say to you? He said, it was time for you to go. He said, in the Gramercy Hotel, who was in the room? He said, Sean Combs, myself, and Cassie. He says, well, when you appeared to enjoy yourself, was Sean Combs always in the room? Yes. So now they're trying to flip it back again to say, oh, look like, I don't know if you guys get that little subtle nuance they're trying to put in there, right? So the AUSA on redirect is kind of almost saying, bro, when Diddy wasn't in the room and you're saying that you wanted to hug her, it's not because you liked her. You felt pity for her. Like, you felt like, yo, she's in distress. And this whole thing about her was enjoying herself and she was loving it.
Right.
Wasn't she only like that when he was in the room? So they're basically trying to say that she was acting like she was into this shit, right? Okay. It says, was that the same man who called her bitch and beat her? And Philip says, I didn't see the beating, I presume. They then object. That's sustained. He said, did you hear the slapping? He says, yes, I did. And the AUSA says, nothing further. The judge says, recross. Donaldson says briefly. And let's keep it going. Says, this document, did you see where you said, I'm on the Upper West Side? She says 10 West End Ave. Hit me when you get here. Philip says, yes. He says, did you see your text? Don't give a fuck if I'm a little tipsy. I love y'all niggas.
Man.
Yes. Then he says, was that after the beating? He says, yes. Johnson says nothing further. So what they're showing, or what Diddy's team on
Love you N-words.
sorry.
Just love all of them, huh?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So pretty much on Recross, what they're trying to show is that despite this brutal beatdown and Cassie's so scared,
Still
after he gets kicked out of the room because Diddy was going to beat her ass or whatever the case is, Cassie hits up the dude to fuck.
Right.
So minutes after, I guess maybe Diddy went home. I don't know what happened. She hits up the dude to fuck. Right? And apparently that's why they're having it being read. It says, do you see your text? Don't give a fuck if I'm a little tipsy. I love y'all niggas. So basically, this whole thing where he's saying he's scared for her, he's watching how Diddy's like this controlling, abusive person. You texted her, I love y'all niggas. Basically on some, man, that's how we have fun shit. You get what I'm saying? That's how we have fun. That's what happened. So they plan to link, and I don't know, I guess maybe they did link and fuck, right? Cool. All right, there's another sidebar before the next witness. They did have a sidebar, and the jurors, they then took a break. They had some issues to deal with. They wanted Mr. Ventura's husband not to be allowed in the courtroom during her testimony, right? And this is one of Diddy's lawyers that hasn't been mentioned yet. We're going to Google who she is. This is Ana Maria Estavio, okay? Now, you'd imagine why they don't want Cassie's husband in the room. Because as she has to recount some of these details that are not only traumatic, but very sexual in nature, it probably will evoke more emotion having to say this in front of her husband, the man who she currently loves and she's building a life with. They don't want her up there sobbing too much. She's probably going to cry, but you don't want her like fucking struggling like snotty. You don't want that. So you're trying to say, could the husband step out? Like, let's get this shit going on. Now, this person, let's see who she is. She handles a variety of high-stake matters involving financial fraud, insurance fraud, money laundering. Okay, so, wow, this is interesting. None of these things None of these things kind of look like anything Diddy's charged with. Weapons offenses, narcotics, immigration, health fraud. Wow, wondering what her thing is on the team. Interesting, but she is on the squad. Let me type in her name with Diddy to see when she got hired. Yeah, give me 1 second, Chad. She's a partner, blah, 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 da, da, da. Okay, she's on the appellate side. She joined Shapiro. If she's with Shapiro, she's on the appellate side. No, never mind. It's the wrong Shapiro, sorry. Where does she come from? All right, we'll find out more about her if she continues. All right, cool. So they want Cassie's husband not to be in the room, right? And so we may need to call him as a witness, and they come up with a good excuse, right? We may need to call him as a witness later, depending on the direct. And then Johnson says, "I'm not sure how Mr. Fine's testimony would be relevant." The judge says, "Tenny or Miss Garagos." Tenny says, "Give me 15 seconds," and he says, "If he wants to come in the courtroom today." But we ask he may be excluded when the testimony gets into post 2018. Okay. I don't know what the agreement is with that. AUSA Johnson says in my initial examination, I will ask about post 2018, but only about devices. By the way, I think in 2018 their relationship ended, right? Garagos, judge says Garagos. Tenny says that's okay. All right, so we'll be back in a couple minutes. Now we get Cassandra Ventura. She's going to take the stand. This is the.
All right, let's go. We're going to keep it going.
Stand. This is the moment, chat. This is the moment. Wow. All right, so it says all rise. The government calls Cassandra Ventura. She takes a stand. She is extremely pregnant. AUSA Johnson starts the conversation. How old are you? Cassie says 38. Says, what is it you do for work? She says, I'm a musician and an entertainer. AUSA Johnson says, how long were you with Sean? She says 10 years. So if we're going probably 2008 to 2018. AUSA Johnson says, did you guys get in arguments? She says, yes. It would result in violence and dragging. And USA says, what else did he do? She says, stomp me in my head if I was down. How frequently was he violent? Too frequently. I would get black eyes, bruises. AUSA Johnson says, let me show you a video. They show the LA hotel video that we've all seen. He says, where was this? Cassie says, the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. It was after a freak off. Oh, wow. Cassie herself calls this shit a freak off. I always thought this freak off thing was some colloquial made up name. Nah, they really calling this shit a freak off. Okay, damn. It says, how did you feel when he first asked for it? So they're asking about a freak off. Confused, nervous. I wanted to make him happy. AUSA then says, did you agree to one when he first proposed one? She says, yeah. Then there were more. It wasn't something I wanted to do, at least not frequently. She then says, I didn't know what no could turn into.
Looking at the other monitor, my bad.
AUSA then says, what do you mean? That would make him angry. The AUSA then says, what were you afraid would happen if you said no? Ventura then says, through time, he had blackmail materials. AUSA says, what did you give the government? She says laptops. So she's admitting she turned over laptops to the government. Okay? AUSA says, I've handed up GXB. Do you recognize it? Ventura says, yes. I've reviewed this drive. It has communications and documents pertaining to Mr. Combs. They said, did you review the photos on him? She says, yes. The AUSA says, what is this photo? She says, this is a photo of me in 2004 with Kerry Morgan. Let me see if I could Google that. Kerry Morgan, Cassie, 2004. Let's see what photo this is. Is it this right here? Yeah.
Ain't no telling.
Okay. All right. It says, when did you sign with Bad Boy Records? She says in 2006. It was a 10-album deal. Did you release anything after late 2006? No. Who's in this photo? Kim Porter. So they show her a picture of Kim Porter. It says, she was Sean's ex before me and the mother of his children. By the way, interestingly enough, we don't really see how they refer to Diddy. Everybody refers to Diddy that's gotten on a stand as Mr. Combs. You could tell the familiarity that Cassie has with Diddy. She starts calling him Sean. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
AUSA then says, where did you celebrate your birthday in this photo? So they're just showing her photo after photo. She says in Las Vegas. Kerry Morgan was there too. We're out on his patio on my 21st birthdays, VMAs. And the AUSA says, what happened then? Sean kissed me in the bathroom. I ran back to my hotel. I told Kerry. When you got back to New York, so it looked like that might have been one of the first time they met.
Yeah.
I don't know. What? Was it?
When he first fooled with him.
Why would she run back to her hotel to tell her friend that Diddy kissed her? Whatever. Okay. It says, when you got back to New York, it says, I'd visit him in the Trump Hotel in Columbus Circle. His apartment was being renovated. The AUSA then says, what were you doing with your music career? She says, trying to come up with a concept. Sean called all the shots. What's the age difference between you and Sean? 17 years. How did you feel when Sean invited you to hotels? Nervous? Excited? I thought we were going to talk about music. He introduced me to oral sex. I didn't understand it.
Oh, man. Get out of here. Get out of here.
The AUSA says, did you visit Sean in Miami? Yes. I went with Kerry Morgan in Dallas, Austin. What did you and Sean do together? Sexual intercourse. He gave me a blue dolphin ecstasy on a boat. Had you once taken ecstasy unintentionally? Yes. How did you take ecstasy unintentionally? She said, it was Gatorade. Ooh. Maybe this is where the drug is going to come in, Chad. When you took it intentionally with Sean, how did it feel? Like I was rolling. At the time, what did you think? I just thought we were spending a lot of time together. I thought we were monogamous. Was it made public? No, I was his artist. Also, he had a family and his children who was linked to him publicly. That's what the AUSA asked. Ventura then brings up, yeah, Kim Porter. So how did Sean treat you at this time? So we had fun. Oh, shit. Then it says, what was his lifestyle like? He had all these assistants. He could get things done. He traveled quite a bit. What's this photo right here? That was Sean and I at the strip club, like maybe 2007, 2008. Halloween. It says, how did Sean's mood vary? So even the AUSA now is taking on this term of calling Diddy Sean rather than Mr. Combs. So how does his mood vary day to day? Oh, I guess Cassandra probably said day to day. AUSA then says, well, when it swung, could you describe it? Ventura says, well, anger, zoning out. Then they say, how did it impact you? She says, greatly. The next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. There were also psychological abuse. He told me to watch my mouth, change my face. Oh, shit. How would he keep tabs on you? Ventura says, we didn't live far apart. He'll send security to come find me. Or a trusted assistant. Like who? David James, Christina Karam. By the way, we keep hearing this.
KK.
We all think that this person would be seen as a co-conspirator.
Yeah.
By the way, we have no idea if they're going to be, they're not charged. But we don't know if they have taken a profit with the government or they're going to be testifying against Diddy. But I would say no. Remember, that person was the one sitting in the bathrobe with Diddy on Star Island while he was getting investigated for all of this. AUSA says, was your relationship exclusive? She says, no. Okay. We're waiting for more updates, but Cassie is on the stand currently, chat. Whoa. Explosive. Let me see how they were walking in this morning. So I'm opening up. Okay. So, yeah, she testified that she was scared to say no. By the way, here's the thing. I had seen it. Oh, fuck. There was some more details yesterday. I don't know if I can find it. It's Philip Diddy. So, again, my man who's in court tweeting, he's not getting every word. He's a fast tweeter, but he's not getting every word. So, there are other outlets, and that's why at the end of the day, we got to look to other people to kind of like fill in the gaps because there's a lot of things that are missed. So we did see this yesterday. So this is a sex worker in Cassie. Apparently, and again, this is kind of like, if you ask me, remember, I'm not in court. I'm not seeing, by the way, they also said Cassie started crying. Okay. So I don't even think he tweeted that yet. But apparently Cassie has started, they said 10 minutes in, she started bawling. Cassie crying. They said 10 minutes in, she's already crying. Wait, fuck. Oh my God, hold on. Cassandra. I forgot that they ain't gonna shorten her name. What the hell? Where did I see that? I saw that somewhere. Maybe I saw it through Inner City Press. Give me 1 second. Anyway, we're waiting on the next tweet. I'm trying to see how people showed up to court, even though I'll wait till it's lunchtime and we don't have constant updates. But I'm going to recap what happened yesterday with this guy, Daniel Phillips, because he said some really other interesting things that we missed yesterday just only reading tweets, right? So remember, he's getting paid between $700 and $6,000. Combs watched while he masturbated, but also he had his own relationship with her because she would request things from him that he didn't know if Combs was asking for. So, for example, he would also text her on one-on-one basis. She opened the door, asked if he was okay. Oh, here we go. Philip believed. Okay, this is the first time. Give me 1 second. He did not recognize Combs. Okay, let's keep going down a little bit. Combs would tell them to rub more baby oil on each other and tell them where and when to ejaculate. God damn it. Y'all remember that Dave Chappelle joke where he'd be like, "Yo, women are too control." Y'all probably know. It's an infamous Dave Chappelle stand up, and he's like, "Yo, bitches are too controlling." It's like, "Yo, tell me where to come, not when to come." You get what I'm saying? Like, some of y'all might be too young for that, but it's an infamous stand up. I can't remember which one. Let me open up the chats. I haven't even opened up chats yet. Let me open up chat. Somebody on the King Academics page will know what we're talking about. But apparently Diddy's in the back telling them where and when to come. You feel what I'm saying? He was always sitting in the corner masturbating. Though he added on occasion, Combs would switch places with him and engage in sexual intercourse with her. On one occasion, Ventura asked him to urinate on her. Rarely did they use condom. In these encounters, it would last any time from 1 to 10 hours. After sex with Ventura, she would go into the bedroom with Combs and leave him waiting on the couch for hours. Sometimes they would come back out, tell him to leave, and other times they would bring him into the bedroom for another round of intercourse. So this guy was just like literally paid dick. Yo, it looks like maybe Diddy would watch Cassie get fucked. He's jerking off in a corner, and then basically Diddy would bring her. I guess it would be in a. These happen in hotels. So if you think about these guys are rich, so you got to think about a presidential suite or the biggest suite in most hotels. You're gonna have like a living room area, or sometimes you might have 2 rooms, right? I gotta imagine they have the fuck spot, which might be in the living room or whatever, and then they go in the bedroom, and it appears that the dude would fuck Cassie. Diddy's in the corner just jerking off. Then Diddy would take her into the room and go cuddle with her for hours or something. I don't know. This is whatever. Here we go. Sometimes they would come back and tell him to leave, and other times they would bring him into the bedroom for another intercourse. They said Combs videotaped him having sex with Ventura once or twice on a cell phone and a camcorder. He pretended to come. One time he pretended to come after Combs instructed him to nut. He's like, nut in her. You know what I mean? This is some Vince McMahon shit right here. Like, nut in her. And that's what I'm thinking this is going down. There's no player way to tell a nigga to nut your bitch, right? There's no player way. What voice do you think this nigga Diddy had going on? It's after Combs brought Ventura into the bedroom, he repeatedly questioned Philip if he was sure he came. So he kept asking, nigga, you sure you nutted, nigga? Nigga, yo, I'm done if Diddy's like, yo, nigga, show me your dick. Show me your dick, nigga. You sure you nutted my bitch, nigga? Nigga, show me your dick, nigga. Come here. Come here. Let me see if them balls are still full. Nah, hell nah. This shit going crazy. This nigga Diddy was pressing that nigga. You this is crazy. Yo, it said their interactions became more and more intense after Combs took a picture off the driver's license and said it was just for insurance, just in case. So I understand that was supposed to be threatening me, okay? Many of his objections were overruled by the judge. Donaldson was trying to object. This was when the AUSA was crossing. One point that Combs allegedly offered Philip MDMA or Molly, which he said he never took drugs, but he made him immediately feel sick, nauseous, but he felt euphoric. He left that night with a wad of cash. Still under influence, he began roaming the city. Oh, that's what we missed. So he got paid thousands of dollars to fuck Cassie. And you know what I've noticed, chat? It looks like, you know, it said the range of money he would get paid was from $700 to $6,000. Why that range? I think the more he did or more he had to tolerate. Because sometimes he may have went there, he had to fuck Cassie for maybe 1 hour, up to 10 hours, but he might have seen some shit too. He might have seen Diddy give her a right hook, you know what I mean? Or seen Diddy do some wild shit. So you could tell he was not only getting paid, and of course I'm inferring right here, I'm putting my own opinion in, but he wasn't only getting paid just to slang dick. Looks like he was also getting paid to just like, yo, keep this shit discreet. Shut up. Whatever you seen, if I slap the fuck out of her, shut up about it. So apparently he says after he took this goddamn MDMA, he went to Times Square and he gave out all the money. So they gave him extra bread that day, right? They probably gave him extra bread because they're like, damn, this fool is drugged out. Like, because he probably acted a fool off of the Molly. He said he went to Times Square and he gave out all the money. This nigga slang dick for free and gave it away. This nigga like the Robin Hood of Times Square. He fucked for the bread and gave it away for free. Shit. So he ain't care about the money that Ventura and Combs gave. Said it was exciting to be around famous people. At one point, he started beginning to witness Combs physically abuse her. One time he saw Combs throw a glass bottle in her direction, then hit her and drag her by her hair to another room. She was screaming and pulled her into the bedroom. He said, I could hear what sounded like him slapping her. She was screaming, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Philip said Combs said to her, bitch, when I tell you to come, you come now, not later. Now I'm thinking about this in a different mindset. I'm wondering if he's shouting this at her. Maybe come isn't when I tell you to come over. It's when I tell you to come. Like, body function come. You better come. Like, yo, Cassie, come right now on this nigga dick. Come on his face. He's in your pussy. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Okay. I was shocked. It came out of nowhere. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. When he asked why he didn't interview or call the police, says, in my mind, if I try to do something to stop it, I might lose my life. He added that my thoughts were Combs was with someone with a limited power. My life was at risk. He started witnessing the abuse. He said he had difficulty staying hard in the presence of Combs. Once or twice, Combs gave him Cialis, which treats erectile dysfunction. So Diddy was just like, nigga, your dick ain't working today? All right, hold on. Pop one of these, nigga. Pop a Viagra, nigga. We need that shit rock hard. All right, bet. Philip said that on occasions in which he could not sexually perform, he was not paid. He detailed another incident at the Essex Hotel where he heard loud screaming and slapping noise from behind the bedroom doors. He then vacated the hotel, so he just left, leaving, Combs left, leaving Philip alone with Cassie. According to Philip, Ventura jumped into his lap and began crying and kissing him. Interesting. Which she had never done during any previous encounter. Philip asked Ventura why she was staying in an abusive relationship, and she insisted she was okay. The two of them began having sex. Philip did not have any trouble performing then. So basically, he's saying, he's kind of giving this idea. He said, yo, I was always creeped out. This nigga Diddy's a creep. It's hard for me to stay hard while this nigga is, like, you can imagine this nigga just like, Diddy, damn, nigga, calm down, nigga. What the fuck? Calm down, boy. Like, this nigga that's behind you be like, yo, nigga, if you shoot your come over here, nigga, we don't have to fight, nigga. What the hell? Like, Diddy moaning in the back and shit like that. Take that. All type of fucker going on with Diddy. Of course, I get why he can't stay hard. Nigga, my shit can't get hard because you too hard, nigga. The fuck you doing, Diddy? God damn it. Diddy over there jacking off so much he throw his toothpick in the fucking action. This nigga Diddy, man. Holy shit. I bet. Oh, chat, this is crazy. Yo, I wouldn't be able to stay hard neither. You just hear this thing. Yo, Diddy, could you chill, nigga? Oh, shit. While they had intercourse, they noticed Mr. Combs sneaking back in the room. Yo, Diddy is... Yo, I don't want to use certain words because, again, this is a criminal trial, but Diddy's sick in the way of his kinks. I don't want to say he's doing anything illegal yet. But the nigga beat her ass. It's almost like role play for him. Think about this. He beat her ass. He storms out of the freak-off room. She's all emotional. She's like, oh my God, Sean just beat me. She jumps in the prostitute's like lap, starts making out with them. Oh my God. The dude's like, why are you with this guy still? Remember, he couldn't get hard earlier. Now his shit rock hard. I ain't gonna lie, chat. One in the chat. All my real niggas gonna put one. Anytime a bitch start crying on your shoulder, especially when it ain't your bitch, man, your shit is rock hard now, nigga. She crying over another nigga who done fucked her over. It's time for you to fuck her. So, yeah he has no trouble performing now. Creep ass Diddy. Imagine just hearing that squeaky noise. Diddy probably poked his head like, oh, there's some fucking going on in here. Hold on. Let me get back up in my corner. Oh, Diddy snuck back in the room to watch. Diddy snuck back in the room. Yo, I would have snuck back in the room and said, what the fuck is y'all doing? Y'all are fucking and I'm not here. He snuck back in and said, oh, this is what I'm talking about. Yo, Diddy on some shit. One time at Ventura's home, Combs invited another male sex worker who ended up getting a verbal altercation with Combs, and he accused him of looking at him during a threesome. After he accused
he said he looking at him.
So Diddy didn't like these niggas looking at him. He said, look at her, nigga. Look at her, nothing her. Just don't look at me.
Oh, man.
Chat, I know we're ad-libbing here. And by the way, we're waiting on tweets. So, I'm just giving you a little color commentary. It's one in the chat. And by the way, we got to make sure we do our polls. Make sure our polls are good in every place we're doing this. Does this give a slight of I'm not gay no more type vibes? Where it's like, it feels like a thin veil of Diddy kind of getting his homoerotic fetishes off, but not being confronted about it, and just kind of have like, because some people would say, no, this is just him liking live porn.
Right.
But no, it feels like
that's what I said.
He was really
want his
caring
porn
about
live.
these men.
That's exactly what I said.
Like, yo, my nigga, let me see your dick. Did you finish?
Earlier.
Yo, bro. Like, come on. Like, it felt some of this kind of
somebody that at work.
And the reason why I bring that up is that
in front of him, he don't want to watch.
He
it.
sets the stage for this kinky, like live. Threesome cuck like thing, but it gives him the best excuse where you can't be like he's gay, and he protests on some other shit. Like he gets in an argument with the guy when the guy looks at him. It's like, nah, nigga, what the fuck? I told you to fuck my bitch, not look at me, nigga. What the hell? Anyway, Philip was never paid for sex before meeting Combs and hasn't been paid for sex since. When he asked why he continued to meet up with him in the courtroom, he said that he considered Cassie a friend and wanted to check up on her, and he feared that Combs might, whatever. All right, cool. So, by the way, which I think today, Diddy's lawyers kind of showed it was much more than that, right? You weren't only checking up on her. You and her kind of had your own relationship. You said to the prosecutors, you wish you would have been with her, or you could have been with her. So you were romantically involved, or you were fucking her under the advice or the direction of Diddy, but you and her were starting to have this like intimate relationship where you got jealous of Diddy, even though Diddy was paying you to fuck her. So Diddy's lawyers did a good job of putting that out there to show that this guy might have some motive of him spinning the story where Diddy's the monster. You start liking this girl. So the guy who's now making her fuck you and you feel like he's being abusive, keep in mind, what Diddy's team did, they did it off the top. And if they didn't do this off the top, it would be a big problem. They admitted, hey, Diddy beats his bitch. Diddy was always liable to backhand a hoe. I'm sorry, I hate to use those words, but that's what it is. They're admitting that. But they're saying this ain't a domestic violence case. If it was a domestic violence case, it would be charging whatever that would be charging LA for the continental intercontinental hotel. They're saying this is sex trafficking. So they're down.
All right, we back. Bring them back. Let's go.
Down with all of these allegations of Diddy putting hands on Cassie. They just want to show that's not what forced Cassie to continue or participate in this type of behavior. Okay? And that's where the sex trafficking, because you gotta show sex trafficking by fraud or coercion or threats of violence. You get what I'm saying? And we're not seeing, even the sex worker didn't say, Cassie's saying it now. We're going to get back to Cassie in 1 second. But the sex worker never said, yeah, I heard him say to Cassie, if you don't fuck him, I'm going to fuck you up. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's pause there real quick and then let's run back to the Cassie trial or the Cassie situation. We're going to play this as well after. Here we go. Cool. Here we go, child. They should be breaking for lunch shortly. All right, here we go. Here we go, people. Okay, so how would he keep tabs on you? Remember, we're seeing this Christina Karam name now. By the way, I seen somebody put a picture of her. This is Christina Karam. She was there with Diddy while this was all being investigated. So I wonder if she'll play any part in this proceeding. AUSA says, did you see other men? Okay, so they're asking if she was a cheater, right? She said, yes. Did Sean see other women? She said, yes. He told me, I am Puff Daddy, and I was insanely jealous. AUSA says, did you move to LA with him? She says, yes. He wanted to be close to his kids who were there. AUSA says, where did you live in LA? She says, 875 Comstock Avenue. You know me, I'm so nosy. I'm so nosy. It's my turn. Imagine Diddy screaming that from a cuck chair, bro. Crazy. Ooh. Oh, these are nice ass apartments. Holy. Oh, this is where Cassie lived at?
Of course.
Man, there's a lot of fucking happening up in here.
Of course.
Holy. You remember that show on MTV back in the day where they used to raid your room and they got to go through the blue light? They'd be like, yo, there's mad semen up in this shit. What the fuck? Yo, you go through this shit, man. You just got to put the blue lights everywhere. There's a lot of fucking that went up in here. Holy, okay. Cassie was living all right.
Oh, it was.
How many bedrooms is this? This has got to be a building, though. This kind of looks cool. All right, whatever. All right, so how tall was the building? She said no more than 17 floors. Where does Sean live? Sean lived at 200 South Mapleton. Damn. You see, this is going to be a problem for Diddy. This chick got a good fucking memory. She know the exact address. Oh, they blurred it out here. It's Diddy's house. Ooh, yeah, you can see it. It's a big ass house right here. Yeah, this is the house they raided, I think. Yup.
Here's the bushes.
This is the house they raided.
Got the bushes blocking it.
It's on Zillow actually right now. $61 million.
Damn.
$61 million.
That's crazy.
Diddy did say he was gonna sell this bitch.
That's crazy.
Beautiful house. Yo, I think where's the backyard? They used to put like a big ass bed. Like Diddy was giving us signs all along, right? Like he used to have parties here, and in the backyard he would have like a huge bed that everybody used to be on. It's like he was telling niggas like, y'all never seen it? I know y'all niggas seen it. Stop capping. Diddy was telling us the signs all along, man. Diddy backyard bed.
I remember that. I remember that.
Yo, when you plan the party and be like, yo, Diddy, what you want us to have in the backyard like decorations? Nigga, fuck them decorations. Nigga, just put a big ass bed, nigga. Fuck that. Fuck that shit, man. Look at this nigga right here. This nigga just had a big ass bed. It's like this nigga was like, yo, just in case, how many people we invite? 200? I know niggas aiming at a 200 person freak off. Like, just put the bed there. Let's see what happens. Just put the big bed there. He ain't get this shit from IKEA, did he? IKEA got some shit like this? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Oh, nah. A 50-foot bed? I see why he needed 1,000 baby oils now. Like, come on, bro. Like, y'all was thinking it was tripping at first. It ain't that wild. Sean would use a golf cart to get back and forth. Yeah, that crib is big. Who paid your rent in LA? They said, well, Sean did. Except I had a house in Studio City. Why'd you pay that? He said, I could afford it then. And I wanted to have some control. And it was accepted. By whom? By Sean. So she basically said, Diddy paid for one place, which is the apartment she was living in. But she had a house in Studio City. And the reason why she wanted to have both is that she didn't want to be completely controlled by him. Interesting. Holy shit. All right. We're waiting on the we're waiting on the next tweet. We do have it. It says, how many songs did you write while you were with Sean? Ventura says hundreds. Most of them never got released. Some got leaked on the internet. Some on mixtapes. So how many albums on your deal were not released? 9. So I think she dropped one album. That's it. Did you get paid for them? Nope.
Damn.
It says the freak-offs became a job. There was no time to do anything else. Oh, that's Cassie. The freak-offs became a job. There was no time to do anything else. But to do them, then try to recover. It says, how much time in your week would the freak-offs take up? The longest was like 4 days, but it would take up significant periods of time. The judge says we're going to break there, but Cassie's admitting that she has had 4-day-long freak-offs. And she basically admitted that recording music took a backdrop to the amount of fucking they were doing. That's crazy. She said the freak-offs became the job. She got signed for 9 albums, nigga. And she got signed for 10 albums, dropped 1 album. Nigga.
And didn't get paid for it.
Diddy's a cold nigga, man. He had her with 9 dicks in her mouth. She thought she was going to drop albums. He didn't drop in a motherfucking thing. God damn. All right. I did see something about her tearing up. Let me see if I can find that. By the way, let me play this real quick.
City Press here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Today, Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. It's day 2 for real after the jury selection of the U.S. versus Sean Combs trial. Yesterday, we covered it in great detail. The jury selection in which the juror from the UN made it on, despite his claims that his Office of Counterterrorism doesn't work with U.S. law enforcement. It's not credible. But then there were the opening statements, hammering hard. Tenny Garagos did it for the defense, among their 9 lawyers. And she said this is about private personal conduct. and that he may be a terrible person, but it's not a federal RICO charge. The government hammered away, saying you're going to hear from Jane, Cassie, Mia, and then the witnesses began. There was first the LAPD officer who went to the 6th floor among the famous kicking incident, and it turns out that he filmed his own version of the security camera footage and preserved it for. He was going to just show his wife, but he preserved it for eternity. Now, the cross-examination of him was done by Brian Steele, who tried to point out various inconsistencies of things that he hadn't put in his written report at the time, but only remembered later while speaking to the prosecutors. It wasn't a bad cross at all. Coming off his young thug work, score one for Brian Steele. Now, the next witness was I called him Male Dancer, but his last name was Philip, not with an S. And this is where it got pretty gruesome. Not gruesome. I mean, yes, gruesome. He was invited up and began to perform. But he stopped being able to perform once he saw the violence, he said. He was a kind of a compelling character in a way. Now, the defense chose to have Xavier Donaldson, who I like and know quite well. I mean, I cover him more than these other lawyers because he's on the CJA panel and represents many criminal defendants here in SDNY as appointed counsel. He's taken a kind of his first line of attack was to try to say that the male escort or exotic dancing firm of Mr. Phillip gamed SEO, so he must be a fraudster. That's not really going far. He didn't finish his cross, and it's going to begin today. And we're coming up on the courthouse. You're going to see the madness in front. So we'll see what he does. And today is going to be the day of Cassie Ventura. So this is a longer than normal intro, but it's a case that we're covering in great detail. Now, we're also covering the crypto beat, among many others. And yesterday there was a development. Ever since this Todd Blanche memo in April, crypto prosecutions have.
He went muted for a while. We're going to fast forward.
Things that he did engage in things we consider domestic violence, but this is a racketeering case. And I liked that about the opening statement. They made that very clear. You're going to have to judge the crimes alleged here, not whether you like him or dislike him.
And look, I think the defense.
Still muted.
Together so we can get this, everybody can hear from me.
You gotta hear what he said before this. You gotta hear what he
or
said
something of the
this.
sort. Okay, it's kind of like a really intricate way how they kind of describe it, but that's how they're trying to connect that to say, yo, he gets this young girl, she don't even suck dick. He turns her into this super freaked out sex robot. He promises her a career. 10 albums, she drops one, never drops another album. She says she got 200 songs in the stash. He don't drop none of them. He's constantly giving her a case of the beats, giving her a WWE SmackDown. Like, shit is going crazy. Essentially, she's sex trafficked. So that's what they're kind of trying to say, right? Okay, all right. Let me see. There's a few other things also continuing to happen. There's a few other things. Now, I'm gonna assume they will ask about the P. They will ask about the P. Now, here's the funny thing. While we're waiting, if another video feed, I think they just went their own break. We do want to see the outside of the courtroom stuff. Could we see it? Anybody? No one outside the courtroom? Okay. Is it this? No. Okay, nothing outside the courtroom yet. If anyone has an outside the courtroom feed right now, just let me know. I'll put that on the screen. What's interesting to know, Cassie and Ryan Leslie. So if you don't know the story about Cassie, Cassie was supposedly the girlfriend of Ryan Leslie first. This is a meeting in 2006. How old was Cassie in 2006? How old was Cassie in 2006? Cassie was 20 years old. Okay? So before she started sucking dick and doing all this freak shit, not saying sucking dick's freak shit, but, you know, she's basically saying really sex, or at least sex to that standard Diddy introduced her to. She was with Ryan Leslie. Now, this is when they had a meeting. Now this whole time, this meeting's a farce, okay? Diddy wanted Cassie. Diddy knew Ryan Leslie at Cassie. He basically had that nigga bring Cassie like we're gonna have a fake label meeting, and then he just start getting cool with her outside of the presence of Ryan Leslie, and then basically she chose up, and then it is what it is afterwards. No.
I wanted to get us all together so we could get this. Everybody can hear from me how focused and excited I am about the project. I wanted, Cassie to. Everybody to meet Cassie. Y'all know that's Cassie. And hear the story directly from Miles. And then really get down to some business about just so we can be on the same page of what the plan is as far as from Tommy's concerned and from where we're concerned as also a label and Warner Atlantic. So everybody's on the same page. I think the best thing to do is to kind of give an overview or a history of how we came to the project. Can't know where we're going unless we know where we came from. Ryan is a producer that I've been working with for the last 2 years. That was brought to me by Ed Woods, who Ryan is signed to their label and also as a producer and has done some stuff for the label. And somebody is like one of my go-to people. New actor, just need a record right away. Somebody that can go in the trenches, musical genius.
Now, Ryan Leslie spoke about.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Ryan Leslie, aka.
He spoke about Cassie leaving him for Diddy after she signed to Bad Boy.
Let's represent.
Really talk about it.
She was close to everything that I loved. You know what I mean? So, music is just something that I love. And she's clearly just, when two people have that much personal interaction and time, they spend that much time together, it's inevitable that a strong personal bond is going to be formed. And the type of chemistry that we had musically and personally, the relationship that we had was inevitable.
So you guys had some sort of romantic relationship during that time?
He's going in, right?
I mean, that's pretty much how how you answer the question. You're not denying the fact you had a romantic relationship.
I'll say I love Cassie. I love her. You know what I mean? And I fell in love with her. I fell in love with the music. I fell in love with her family and everything that it took. For two young people in New York City hustling together, it was inevitable that we be in love. You know what I'm saying?
Now, at what point sort of rift that happened to you? Because from what I understand, you don't talk to Cassie as much as you used to.
Right.
Is this true?
Yeah, that's 100% true.
So, was there a situation where a rift happened, between you two? Was it anything that you could pinpoint?
There's definitely...
That's early Vlad, by the way. That's Vlad.
A lot of factors, a lot of situations,
This shit looked like it was recorded on VHS tape, bro. Don't it?
Nuances that I could pinpoint, but I don't feel comfortable talking about them publicly because they involve people and involve situations that, to this point, really don't have anything to do with my professional career. You know what I mean? Well, they don't have anything to do with my current professional career. So I don't feel comfortable talking about them, and I don't think any of the people involved would feel comfortable about me talking about it. So I wouldn't do it unless I could make some phone calls and say, "Hey,
yo, chat, don't it come across like he's scared of Diddy? Like this is way back. It's like, man, I don't want to talk about this shit, man.
Hey, I'm on Vlad TV right now. Do you have any problem with me airing some of this stuff out?" I'm sure they would probably respond and say, "You know what, homie, I would have a problem with you airing some of that stuff out." But yes, I do believe that there are some specific moments, specific discussions, specific moments in time, specific disputes, specific characters.
Bro, he is watching his words, and I understand why. Niggas getting dangled off the balcony. By the way, tell me why I just seen this again. They said Wale had to deny again that he got dangled off the balcony. Wale denied his dangling balcony. Remember, Diddy was running around. Diddy thought he was Tupac. That nigga Diddy thought he was Tupac, bro.
Your name was brought up in something with the Diddy situation.
Why are you asking me about that stuff?
I was going to say, to clear it up, you weren't involved in it.
I never got in an altercation with them.
Yeah.
I've never been in an altercation with nobody in the industry.
Yeah.
I've had close calls, but not him. But definitely, like that, it was made up by somebody who's just trolling and it just went.
Yeah, I know you are, because when they throw people's names in it, when you have nothing to do with it, I know that's like.
It's a
dangling a nigga over the balcony is diabolical, bro.
It's a topic to get to go. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like no.
Yo, why when everybody talk about Diddy, it's like you can see the uncomfortability. It's like, yo, bro, what's going on in here?
That played into this, played into the.
Yo, this nigga's saying a lot but saying nothing at the same damn time.
The dynamic change that has
Yo, even Vlad looking at him like, yo, nigga, what the fuck are you talking about right now? Look at Vlad's face like, yo, nigga, what the fuck are you talking about? The fuck are you talking about, nigga?
That went down.
It's crazy, man.
Cassie's still signed to you.
Yes, she's still signed the next election.
And her deal is through Puff.
Yeah.
So was there any sort of strain, the fact that she is, kind of seen with Puff a lot and they have some sort of relationship in terms of, like that sort of, triangle kind of approach where, you guys had a relationship, you're signed to Puff, she's seen out with Puff. I mean, does that create some sort of strain in your personal life?
Well, I think that as a human being, right? It's just some of these questions like they was.
Yo, this nigga stuttering worse than Flacco, me, add everybody up in the mix. This nigga stuttering like a yo. Diddy was really the guy, huh?
To me, that they would have obvious answers. You know what I mean? Just if you were to put yourself in my position as a human being, right? And so there are definitely some. There are and.
Yo, this dude ain't saying nothing for the last 2 minutes. Not one sentence finished.
There were definitely those moments and instances.
Yo, he's not saying nothing. Listen to this chat.
Sort of, triangle kind of approach where, you guys had a relationship, you're signed to Puff, she's seen out with Puff. I mean, does that create some sort of strain in your personal life?
Okay, so the question is there a strain in your personal life? That's your girl, but Diddy keep being seen out with her and she's signed to Diddy. Is there a strain with you and Cassie? Listen to this non-answer.
Well, I think that as a human being, right?
Anytime a nigga just start with some random bullshit, listen, man. As a father, like what the hell? We ain't talking about that. As a human being, like what the hell? This thing acting like we talking like this is an alien movie.
It's just some of these questions like they would seem to me that they would have obvious answers. You know what I mean? Just if you were to put yourself in my position as a human being, right? And so there are definitely some. There are and there were definitely those moments and instances where you question what's really going on. But for us. On the outside, because even in terms of her relationship with Puff, I'm on the outside. I didn't make it a point to try to get into whatever business was going on, and we're in the entertainment industry, so our lives, we make the decision to make the choice to expose ourselves in that way. And I took a lot of that, a lot of the sentiments and a lot of my reactions to those situations, especially my reaction.
God damn, this nigga shook. Holy shit.
Yeah, he should.
Did they go outside yet? I think they're about to be outside. Hold on. Okay.
The testimony isn't
Chad.
necessarily suited. I the gallery on Cassie for her. And as far.
Here we go. Why are we getting buffering?
Yeah, well, Jesse, when she had first kind of entered the courtroom, can't necessarily describe it as a tense moment necessarily, but I can only imagine what was kind of going through everybody's minds. You have Diddy's children on one side, his family on one side. You have Diddy, who was looking at Cassie as the moment that she walked inside that courtroom today. She was wearing a long brown dress. She is very, very much so, appears to be in her third trimester of her pregnancy. And so she kind of walked very quietly and very slowly up to the witness stand, took the swore the oath and that type of sort, and then sat down for the prosecution's questioning. And as far as who her support was inside that courtroom, that included her brother, what we presume to be her mother, as well as even her husband, Alex Fine. And he was kind of the topic of some of these arguments outside of the presence of the jury, mainly about just some testimony that they're expected to happen, especially later on today or even possibly tomorrow, because she is expected to be on the stand for a while. But as far as when she got onto the stand, she was very soft-spoken when she was answering ASA Emily Johnson's question. We've been following this case from the beginning, from the moment that she had filed that federal lawsuit that was just very shocking, a very bombshell lawsuit that we all know was settled the following day. But as far as just kind of comparing the allegations to her witness testimony, it was kind of a difference in the sense that we had only seen her allegations through words, through paper, through court filings and that sort. But, when she got on the stand, it's now, for jurors in their minds, they're putting a voice and they're putting a person to, a name finally. They're seeing just from her side of the view, just kind of her relationship with Diddy. Much of the testimony was very foundational. When did she meet Diddy? How long before, the two engaged in sexual intercourse? As well as, she was briefly asked about the CNN video. And she did confirm that she was leaving a freak off when the vicious beating kind of happened. As far as just some other big highlights, we were shown a lot of photos of her and Sean, as she refers to him in court, as well as her friends. We saw a photo of him being Diddy, Kim Porter, another friend, and Cassie all at the 2006 BET Awards. We saw a photo of Diddy with Cassie, another friend, and another potential witness to this case, all sitting on a couch. We had seen photos of their trip to Miami. We saw photos of them at a strip club together here in New York City in 2007. For Halloween, she had spoken about just, her time working as an artist for Bad Boy, and just that pretty much, some of these allegations she had talked about in her lawsuit, but also that Diddy controlled a lot of aspects of her recording career. She signed a 10-album deal. However, she only put out one album plus a mixtape. A lot of the songs that she had even recorded had just gone either, unreleased, or they were leaked and that type of sort. And so some of those were like kind of the big highlights, I would say. They were kind of touching base on who all else kind of played a role in, as far as, security. She had named people like D-Rock and Bounds and Uncle Paulie and Malik. As far as assistants, we heard one of the big names being Christina Coram, as well as David James, Neil Dominic. And so that was kind of touching base a little bit as far as, how Diddy's staff kind of interacted with her. But for the most part, another eye-opening point was just that, Diddy had security around him 24/7. But she also had said that, sometimes the security's job was to kind of check on her and make sure that she was doing what she was supposed to, essentially. That, if she wasn't answering the phone when Diddy had called, that he would send his security to go and find her. And so, as far as just some of the testimony, I'm sure we'll get into more details as far as kind of, the freak-offs and that type of those types of allegations. But, it really did start off pretty foundational. And I was pretty surprised at, how composed she was keeping it all while on the stand. Again, she was very soft-spoken, but she answered the questions directly. If there was something that she was confused about or wanted Emily Johnson to rephrase or just to ask again, she was open about that. There were very brief moments of laughter, but that was just because, it was nothing that had to do with any of those graphic allegations or anything like that. But it was just, pretty much, she was asked, like, why didn't you release more albums? And she's like, is that a question for me? And then there was a little chuckle. But for the most part, it was very much a serious tone. A lot of eyes were on Cassie. A lot of eyes were also on Diddy's children when they were talking, for example, about Kim Porter and just how that relationship had ended while Cassie was starting her relationship with Diddy. And so we got to kind of see finally for a while now, because it's almost been 2 years since she had filed her lawsuit at this point, that we kind of got to see her explain her own of view from her own mouth, as opposed to us seeing these allegations and like lawsuits and that type of sort.
So I have two questions for you. One, how is the jury responding to her testimony and more of the graphic points of her testimony? But also, what was Diddy doing? What was Sean Combs doing? Was he looking at her? Was she looking at him at any points? So again, what was the jury's reaction and what was the reaction between Diddy and Cassie?
Well, let me tell you, it was a very packed courtroom, so it was really hard to kind of see all the jurors and their faces. But from the little view that I got of just seeing these jurors, they were listening intently like they have been even since yesterday, taking notes, kind of watching back and forth, both, you know, the prosecution asked their questions and then going over and kind of looking at the witness, that being Cassie, while on the stand. Now, as far as Diddy goes, he was watching very intently. Like, let me tell you something. He is very much so participating in his defense. He is jotting notes down. He's passing these notes because we do know when the cross-examination comes down, it's going to be Ana Maria Esteval who's going to be doing that line of questioning once the defense does get to the cross of Cassie's testimony. But as far as Diddy goes, he definitely kept his eyes on Cassie for the most duration while she was on the stand, which I can only imagine was felt intimidating on her end, possibly. I'm obviously not in her mind, so I don't know that 100% or anything like that. But as far as Cassie looking back in Diddy's direction, even when she had gotten off the stand, you know, she didn't look at him once. She just walked immediately outside through the gallery, didn't look at him, didn't look at his children. There was no type of like soft smile, none of that. I think, you know, even she might not have noticed her husband was right there in the courtroom too, but she kept laser focused, got out of the door, and then that's when everybody else kind of left the courtroom for lunch break.
Pretty surreal, to say the least. Let me ask you this. At the beginning of the day, we kind of got a sense of what's going to happen next. Everybody's been talking about the freak-off tapes or these sex tapes and how they're going to be visible in the courtroom, whether or not the gallery is going to see these tapes. I imagine when she's going to have to talk about these tapes, she's going to have to view these tapes. What was the discussion earlier this morning regarding the tapes, how a witness will be questioned about the tapes, and whether or not anybody in the gallery will ultimately see them?
Yeah, so there was a lot of concerns about these exhibits, mainly more so, I guess, from us on the press ends portion, you know, just seeing that these photos were sexually explicit and very graphic in nature. The government planned to show some of these images because they, according to the government, were 6 still images. They were nude images of victims that were sexually explicit, but the government kind of came up with a solution that, you know, they would provide headphones to the jurors so that way, you know, we wouldn't hear any type of audio of, you know, these exhibits that were going to be portrayed. The government wanted to keep this material out of public record. The defense, meanwhile, says it's pretty much adult pornography. And so that's when we kind of started connecting the dots that these were, you know, videos and images of, you know, these freak-offs that the government is kind of talking about that's central to their case. The defense says it's a privacy issue, and they question what us in the press would pretty much do with these types of images. And you know what? We have a right to kind of talk about them, especially not in a salacious manner or anything like that. I don't think that was any of our intents on, you know, being in the courtroom while these images were played or anything like that. But apparently it seems like, you know, a point for the defense that, you know, they were just wondering what the press would do about it, especially with so many eyes on this case. And so, you know, they wanted to address this issue. The media did have a response through a lawyer. Not 100% sure what outlet they were with, but the media's response was pretty much that the press needs to see these. You know, the testimony isn't necessarily suitable for these images because, you know, the big question is, was this consensual or was this coerced? And so the media lawyer, you know, offered maybe just the pool reporters to see these types of images, so that way there would at least be some media in the room, so that way we could report about.
Yeah, so this is the big thing. Like, shit. They've even brought up, they say, yo, there's mad screaming. It's probably, that video probably nasty, man. Astroglide everywhere, baby. That shit probably look like a slip and slide, man. Some shit you see at Great Adventures, my nigga. Like, come on, you hear Diddy just like skin fapping over there. Like, it's probably really nasty. Like, you're hearing Cassie moan like a pig. Like, it's just probably crazy. So they said, we don't want to play this shit over the big speakers in here. This shit, you know, Diddy's kids is probably, imagine Diddy's kids like, what? That's how daddy get down? Crazy. You know, he got daughters and shit like that. So what they want to do is headphones. Get these motherfuckers earpods. They can hear it, but it's not gonna be played throughout the whole gallery where niggas like, what the fuck going on in there? Second of all, they're like, not everybody needs to see this, and they're trying to see if because it's a matter of public interest, they can't be like clear the courtroom, right? Because that could be something that some of these journalists, which by the way, Matthew, I forgot his name, the inner city press guy, he files mad motions and lawsuits himself when they try to prevent access. Like, sometimes they'll try to prevent access to journalists, and because it's a matter of public interest, they can't do that. So sometimes he'll go to court himself and make sure they're allowed to do whatever. So they're trying to do the right thing when they know that it would be pretty much unethical and out of the ordinary to say no one could see it, but they're trying to see if they can limit the exposure. So that's why they're like, maybe we only pick certain journalists, probably give a warning that maybe his kids could, I don't know, And I don't know if Alex Fine, which is Cassie's husband, want to see Cassie get plowed by multiple men. I don't know.
There would at least be some media in the room, so that way we.
Yo, chat, a freak off watch party is diabolical. Like, a freak off watch party up in the courtroom, diabolical, chat.
Could report about this, and so from the media's response, they completely objected to total sealment of these images and says that it's a First Amendment issue. And so this is going to be taken up probably at a later time, possibly when we all come back from the lunch break, just to kind of get a better picture of it. But it seems like from both parties that they're kind of fearful about these images getting out. But on our side, we have a right to report on what's going on. I mean, look at just the media campouts just behind me. A lot of people have interest in this, not just for salacious headlines or anything like that, but because this is a very high profile and criminal case. And of course, we will respectfully report on it if we are able to see these images.
Real quick, Elizabeth, I want to get you back in that courtroom. 30 seconds. If you could just explain what the scene is like today.
Well, the scene is very much so a lot of high energy, a lot of anxious energy, and maybe I'm just saying my own personal feelings because it was pretty tense this morning as a lot of people were just trying to battle to get inside that courtroom because everyone wanted to be in there when Cassie took the stand. Everyone wanted to see her to raise her right hand, swear an oath, and to get inside that courtroom. So there was a little tense moments from people either cutting in lines or people trying to get ahead as well. But as far as, from the family's perspective, I had mentioned yesterday that the daughters had walked out during Daniel Phillips' testimony. That wasn't the case today. Everyone stayed in court, stayed in place. They were listening to all the testimony that was going on today. And so for the most part, it just seems like, okay, this is day 2. A lot of people are just wanting to know more information. What are we going to be getting out of this case? Is this a criminal case, or is this, very much so possibly a domestic violence case, as the defense is trying to kind of paint it out. But as far as the mood inside that courtroom, it's very tense, I will say, mainly because a lot of people just have their eyes on this very important testimony from one of the biggest witnesses and one of the biggest players inside this case today.
Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much for being our eyes and our ears about what's happening in that courtroom. No cameras, no audio equipment, but we got Elizabeth, and she does a fantastic job. Thank you so much. And
okay. All right. So let me see. I hear that we do have some videos of like the family walking in. I'm trying to find it for y'all. By the way, if you guys do want to get a question in or a comment, just either become a member, and I think that they allow you to submit a question that way, or just send a donation or something like that. I could easily see it.
So I'm attorney. Created, I think Nantucket Nectars was like the first huge deal Josh was working on. Mm-hmm. And I was babysitting the
money if your records weren't being released. She said, well, I did host parties when Diddy approved them. What comments did Diddy or Sean make about your physical appearance? He told me I look too Mexican with my hair like that. Hilarious. Diddy was tweaking out, huh? All right. All righty then. James Cruz. Did James Cruz ever speak about? Did James Cruz ever?
You had the opening.
James Cruz, Cassie. So that was her manager. Did James Cruz ever say anything? Oh, this is James Cruz right here, right?
What was your role at Bad Boy Records?
Well, it started really easy. It started as head of mix show and street team. So if you recall, Bad Boy was probably the first. If you talk to Steve Rifkin, it was the second, but it was the first street team ever. And Puff brought me over, and Jason Jackson was the vice president. And Jason Jackson decided that he wanted to go manage Lauryn Hill. Now, my role was not so much as being a mix show director. I didn't know nothing about radio. I didn't know nothing about street teams. All I knew was that if Puff threw me in a lake of water, I'd do the backstroke in 2 seconds just to show off to him. And he said to me when Jason left, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I guess what do you want me to do?" He said, "Sink or swim, you run promotion." And at that time, I was not necessarily the favorite person at Bad Boy because, you had a bunch of interns that were there for years that wanted the role. The company was changing. It was becoming more from a smaller boutique label to becoming a juggernaut movement of social consciousness and awareness. And Puff had the vision to start to position the company in a certain way. He brought over Josh Takeman. He brought you over. There was a marketing division being created. I think Nantucket Nectars was like the first huge deal Josh was working on. Mm-hmm. And I was babysitting the street team with the street team van. And we were sleeping, driving back and forth to all the shows, but we had to be in the office by 10 or we get a day's pay docked. That's a true story. Remember that? So, my role became so much more important. Then I had to deal with Arista, the parent label. And I learned from two great guys, Tom Maffei, who I thought was incredible.
Good guy.
And Clive Davis. And being in those rooms, just the aura and presence just made you want to be better. It's like playing next to Jordan. You're going to have a better game next to Jordan. Playing next to Puff, I want to be Scottie Pippen. He could be Horace Grant, but we played better next to Puff. It would just happen. If we played on other teams, we played great, but we just played better next to Puff because he made you want to step up. And then probably for 2.5 years, we moved over to 1345. And I'll never forget, it came the time where we probably were like the hottest team on the face of the earth. And I had just gotten married and just had my first daughter, Alexis. And I had an offer from Bob Jameson at RCA. He offered me $500,000 a year. 27 years old right now. $500,000 a year plus a huge expensive and a huge budget, promo budget. And I had an offer from Dave McPherson over at Epic. And Puff calls me into his office. He goes, "So you're leaving, huh?" And I go, "It looks like it." He goes, "What you gonna do?" And I explained to him my options. And I said to him, then there's this other thing over here, this management thing, Chris Lighty, Violator Management. He goes, "Are you stupid?" And I'm like, Puff Daddy calling you stupid. And this time, this is P. Diddy. This is the guy I don't like. There's 5 personalities. We'll get into that later. But P. Diddy's the one I don't like. And P. Diddy calling me stupid. And I go, "Huh?" He goes, "Retail. Marketing, marketing endorsement deals, promotion, you go and learn management, there'll be no stopping you." And right there, he picks up the phone and calls Chris Lighty and says, "I'm loaning you my #1 guy."
Okay, so me knowing Puff, he was ready for you to get out the building.
Yeah, he was done. He was done.
Puff don't let Puff is like the jealous girlfriend. If anybody is looking at you, he's like, hell no.
No. But see, there's a difference there.
Tell me.
Sometimes you need a coach to show you where to go. He was preparing me to be his manager.
What's up, guys? Thanks for sticking with me.
By the way, Cardinal, I am looking to see how I could get you good. I'm trying to figure it out. No. When I figure it out, I'll be able to unblock you. All right. Okay. So it looked like James Cruz even was pretty much kind of co-signing some of this stuff, right? Huh. All right. Anyway. So looked like Diddy was kind of confronting her saying, "Yo, listen, you're looking a little bit too Mexican. We're trying to make some music. Shit ain't gonna work." And she was trying to do whatever to kind of like appease him, right? So here we then go. AUSA says, "How do you like your nails?" She says, "White, French tipped. What about your hair?" "It varied. I shaved my head in 2009. Your body." "He told me to work out and prepare." Yo, training for the freak-offs is crazy, chat. He told me to work out and prepare for the freak-offs. Yo, you got to train for, you need more stamina. Yo, baby girl, but you keep getting gassed in the fourth. You need more conditioning. Get ready for the freak offs. Going to the gym for the freak offs is crazy, Chad. How'd you feel? Nah, this is crazy. The freak off workout plan is undefeated. Like, you ever heard about the Kanye workout plan? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and get that to me.